Live. Everywhere. On netrootsradio.com. David Waldman. Kagro. In the morning. Now, here's David Waldman.
Hey, good morning, everybody. How you doing? It's Thursday, August 21st, 2024. Time to get rolling again. It's Thursday. Greg Dworkin is with us. We've got lots to catch up on. And at the same time, really only that one or two story thing that's always going on. Trump, terrible. And by the way, also New York City having some elections. And how terrible Trump is will have some impact on how that election goes. But there are other stories around the margins. Plenty happening. A major boo fest for JD Vance, and I guess Stephen Miller was with him. I don't know what the hell they think they were doing, but they went to Union Station yesterday for, you know what? I don't even know why they went there, but what I saw in the video clips circulating online was that they were asked, how come all of these extra law enforcement officers you're pushing onto the street, and in some cases not even law enforcement officers, and extra National Guard troops from out of state, outside agitators. How come all these outside agitators you're bringing into the city seem to be marshaling around Union Station? What is it that they're doing here? And I guess JD Vance stood there and insisted, actually Union Station is a very high crime area. It's actually quite nice and has some very fancy shops and is blocks away from the Capitol and is as gentrified as could possibly be. But he made the pronouncement that, there are vagrants here. In other words, someone might, you might be approached by a panhandler on your way to or from work or whatever it is you're doing. I suppose if you're a visitor to the city and coming in by train, you might think, wow, there's this weird thing that happens in this city and no other cities, or even the city where I live in, or even the exurbs I live in when I exit the Walmart parking lot. The panhandlers, yes. Huge. Thank God they activated the military to come and do something about panhandling. Anyway, on their way out of this photo op, they were, of course, confronted by, the American people who actually make their way through Union Station all the time for any number of reasons. And the heckling was loud and raucous, including a wonderful video of a crowd spontaneously bursting into screaming at him as a couch effer, which I'm glad everybody remembers. It made for good, I don't know what you would say, a good rallying cry, I suppose. Video is sustaining us. The video of all the people rising up and shouting at MAGA officials. Greg mentioned yesterday that there was video, and I did see it. He sent it along. We included it in the roundup. Thanks to Scott for doing that. And hey, Scott. Wake up, Scott. We're talking about you. All right. Of Elise Stefanik being shouted down, not at a town hall that she was holding, but people screaming about, why aren't you holding a town hall? She was just there for, I think, a building dedication. In fact, we got some notes about that from listener Ad Karatic, and we'll perhaps catch up on what actually happened there and fill in the blanks about some of that. But in the meantime, it's time for us to get to our one or two stories that will run through all of these things as a common thread. Oh, and speaking of common, why not? We got to bring Greg in with a fanfare, and I keep forgetting every day. I want to try and find new fanfares, but not today. You've been mentioning this one for quite a while, Greg. I had to take an excerpt of this one because otherwise we're here for 15 minutes, but you've been waiting for this one, I think. Very dramatic. Greg Dworkin, the fanfare for the common man. You've been mentioning that a couple of times.
Yeah, Aaron Copland.
I can't find.
If you're gonna do fanfares, that's like the thing to do, right?
That is so dramatic and amazing. It's incredible that
it's almost as good as Imperial Margarine.
Right, which is around. We have that here as well. But that's a great one, and it really took some doing to decide. All right, well, where will I take my excerpt from? Is it just the opening trumpets? I took from trumpets and French horns, but before the trombones, it's really something.
Beautiful piece.
All right.
Right?
Well,
it's no Claire obscure, but it's not bad,
True.
We should
Put it in
build
the
a video
video
game
game.
around it.
Yeah, why not? Yeah,
So
it could be
I have
doable.
two booing
Fanfare for the
stories.
common
Tell you
medieval
booing
assassin.
anecdotes
Yes,
to add.
lots of booze. Great for the
Vance or
morning.
Stefanik, who should I do first?
We did Vance, so you do Stefanik, and then we'll switch.
Stefanik, I
did
mentioned
both.
the other day
Yeah.
she got booed in Plattsburgh.
She
You
certainly
mentioned
did.
it was a building dedication. She couldn't get a word in. She had to make this other guy
They
like,
should have dropped the building on
they're
her.
being disrespectful. I'm not doing as you do it,
Mm.
right? So Stephanie posts regarding Stefanik being booed off stage in Plattsburgh. She was being booed by radical left activists. She was booed by
Yay.
nurses.
Oh,
Nurses, people I know.
the
Because
radical
we're
left.
going to lose our hospitals thanks to her garbage leadership. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. She has a whole thread about that in which she is attacked, of course, by MAGA people. What do you know? You're a left-wing activist. You don't live here. You have no idea. We're hardworking people. We give everybody the benefit of the doubt. She got the benefit of the doubt like 3 times, but she didn't even live here. She's using a vacation home as her address. People
is
have
that right?
finally caught on. They are not giving her any
have
slack
heard that.
whatsoever, and it's garbage.
That's an important point, by the way, and we'll come back to it later in the show. If she's using a vacation home, chances are, I would say about 100%, that she too signed mortgage paperwork declaring this to be her primary residence. And that's apparently mortgage fraud, and they're trying to use that to. They're attacking. I think there are 3 prominent Democrats at the moment under attack by the Trump administration with this same claim in mind. And of course, you'll find it everywhere because the mortgage people and the real estate salespeople will actually encourage you to fill out the paperwork that way so that they can close the sale. You save money on taxes. And that's why it's epidemic among the kind of people who are holding on to 3 and 4 houses. So
Right. So what she actually said is nobody who supports her came to hear what she had to say because these people no longer exist. We all, Republicans and Democrats, can't stand her. She got into office by lying about who she was. Now everybody knows it. We may be slow in the uptake here, but when we catch on to a scam, we don't forgive or forget. Unless you're from here,
George Santos.
you have no idea what you're talking about. It's tough living in these mountains, but we make it work by being a community that supports one another, regardless of idiotic politics. Stefanik wouldn't know this because she's never lived here. She used a vacation family home as the address to run for office.
Well,
That's the claim.
Let's undo that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
our
the
listener
Stefanik
Ed
booing
Karadžić
piece.
says the same
I
thing.
thought that was interesting.
Okay. I mean, I could give you there's more detail from the Ad Karadžić, who listens to the show pretty regularly.
Yeah,
lives
tell
there,
us.
and is a New York 21st district resident, like for real, and actually lives there.
Yeah, let's hear from the locals.
But just chimed in yesterday, and we didn't get a chance to include it in our roundup. But the bigger story regarding Stefanik is how she's dissing the Republican county chair, apparently, and making everyone mad at her. And apparently the local Republican apparatus find her unprofessional, disrespectful, condescending, threatening, manipulative, vindictive, delusional, and frankly, untruthful. There's a whole article that I'll share
Who
with you
posted that?
later
Gavin
on.
Newsom?
Right, no, but she's got tiny hands, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
But there's an article, a local piece in the Adirondack Daily Express that I'll perhaps share at a later point in the program so that we can move on with our
Probably the
roundup.
one publication in America I don't subscribe to. So,
Yeah.
yes, I'd like to hear about that.
Okay.
And then there's the Vance booing story.
Boo!
And this is sort of funny. There's a reporter named Leah Redenbrecht.
Luke's
She's
sister.
a reporter for Gray DC News. She used to work on ABC, and she wrote yesterday, I covered JD Vance's trip to Union Station today. He wanted to show how safe Union Station is because of a federal takeover.
Wow.
At no point was I less than 4 feet from a federal agent, but my wallet disappeared and was immediately used at a liquor store.
Well,
thought
you
that
said
was
this
pretty
was all
funny.
about booze, and
Yeah.
I guess it is. From BOOS and right on to the liquor store. Stolen wallet, well, that happened to Kristi Noem, and she's the
Right.
Secretary of Homeland
And then she
Security,
posted this
so-
thing, your card is locked. Hi there, your district liquor's purchase on August 20th was
Hey,
declined because you
that's close
previously
by.
locked your card.
Okay. Well,
So she said, I'm not making it up. Somebody tried to buy $55 worth of liquor on my card. So, yeah,
That's cheap.
JD Vance and his buddies are really making this area safe. So
Yeah.
safe that, like, my wallet disappeared.
That's pretty amazing. Well, they're very big drinkers, those National Guard guys. So,
Yeah.
they shouldn't have stolen that wallet.
Well, perhaps they should be trained for police work, not National Guard work. I'm just saying.
Right. I mean, they didn't do a good job guarding the national wallet. So, all right.
Exactly right.
District Liquors.
So,
that's not far.
I mentioned Gavin Newsom.
Trip.
I sent you some pretty funny pictures that he's been generating through his press flack, Izzy Gardon, who is getting under MAGA skin to the point where there's actually
wrinkly orange
a story about him in Breitbart. Meet Newsom press flack Izzy Gardon trolling Trump, $40 billion in fire relief at risk.
Huh.
What's one thing have to do with another? I don't know. But they have to do something because it's really bothering them. And I'll give you some examples. And actually, Newsom himself doing this. Now, remember, just to put this in context, what Newsom is doing is posting in parody of, like Donald Trump, showing MAGA and the rest of the country in a mirror what it looks like when you don't just say, oh, well, that's Trump.
Yeah.
And how obnoxious it is and how silly it is. He's doing all of that. It bothers them because they hate looking in a mirror, because when they do that, they actually have to consider what he's doing rather than just say, oh, Trump, yeah, we win. It doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, this one is Governor Newsom Press Office. That's the account, Gov Press Office, if you're on Twitter. And he's got a picture of himself on Mount Rushmore with the other four dudes.
Yeah.
And he writes, wow, what an honor on Mount Rushmore. Thank you. And then signs his initials. And then people are starting to criticize him for that. And he says, oh, bipartisan recognition. Wow, thank you. He's got one of Gladiator with his head on the Gladiator body. Are you not entertained? It's just great stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is Politico. If this genre of social media post provokes deja vu, there's a good reason for that. He's trying to mimic Trump, says Steve Bannon. He's no Trump, but if you look at the Democratic Party, he's at least getting up there. He's trying to imitate a Trumpian vision of fighting, right? He looks like the only person in the Democratic Party who's organizing a fight they feel they could win. And he's really getting on Republican nerves. And then they start this with an inescapable smash-mouth, all-caps-laden and meme-filled X account. California Governor Gavin Newsom is holding a mirror up to MAGA, and MAGA doesn't like what it sees. There's Newsom on Mount Rushmore. I sent you another one, which I thought was hilarious. There's Newsom getting prayed over by Tucker Carlson, Kid Rock, and an angelic winged Hulk Hogan. And just like the Trump things, the depictions are so bad that other than Hulk Hogan, I didn't know who they were. So I love having this discussion. But it doesn't matter. That's not the point. There's Newsom posting. Would you have known that's Tucker Carlson? You might have recognized Kid Rock.
If I squint at it.
He looks He looks like your usual nondescript conservative in a suit. It could have been anybody.
Yeah, he's not
saying
facing
his mid-cycle
the camera.
redistricting proposal is that many people to call him Gavin Christopher. That's his middle name, GC.
Okay.
Gavin Christopher Columbus Newsom because of the maps. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It's just hysterical stuff.
Yeah.
And Politico notes it really is bothering people.
It's amazing that it took them a while to kind of figure out how to do this and what to do with it. I mean, people have been making fun of him, but nobody with the platform of Gavin Newsom.
Right.
But yeah.
So Stephen Smith, who's a digital strategist, who used to work for Pete Buttigieg, says Newsom isn't just trolling MAGA. He's proving to Democrats that stepping off your digital high horse and entering the fray is messy and worth it. And what's happening is that Newsom's name recognition has skyrocketed. His polling numbers have skyrocketed. We'll get to the substance. This is the style. Yeah. But again, he's not doing this because this is going to help him be president. It won't. I don't think he has a chance in the Democratic primary. That may be why, in his mind, he's doing it.
Right.
But what he's doing is working beautifully for our purposes, which is to say, make America understand what Trump does.
Make America, I can't make it into a easy acronym, but make America great again. I can pronounce. Make America understand what Trump does. Well, that's always difficult.
Right. So
This is great.
SFgate, a San Francisco paper,
Oh, yeah.
used to be the San Francisco Chronicle. Now, this is the online version. A wake-up call. Newsom's Trump trolling is riling Republicans. The governor's changing his social media style after years of consumption of right-wing media. And he has a very funny anecdote here. At first glance, it might appear that the California governor's official press account has been hacked. His AI-generated images showing his face on Mount Rushmore, him in a muscle tee holding the American flag, Vice President JD Vance breakdancing. But if you take a closer look, these tweets are none other than parody of Donald Trump's brazen social media style.
I don't think
and
you have to
it's
get that
upset
close.
some Republicans, and here's the funny part.
Yeah.
Gavin Newsom, why am I giving him advice, says Dana Perino. You have to stop it with the Twitter thing. She lambasted the governor's tweets on Fox News during a news segment this week. That means Fox News people are hearing about it. Do not let your staff tweet. Why be on Fox News? Be on Fox News this way. Do not let your staff tweet, and if you're doing it yourself, put the phone away. He's got a big job as governor of California, but if he wants an even bigger job, he has to be more serious. After that segment, Newsom tweets in all caps, Dana Ding Dong Perino. Never heard of her till today.
Yeah.
And in the same rambling tweet, he says, Fox hates that I'm America's most favorite governor, the ratings king, all in caps. So, that makes the point. This is what Trump does. And no, it's really stupid. It's sophomoric. You fell for it. He's pointing out to you, this is the stuff that you think is really clever. It's not clever at all. It's stupid. You get the point? It's stupid.
Yeah, it is. It's very funny that the way this is working, and I'm very pleased to see it. And I don't know how much of it was calculated or what the thought process was, but it seemed pretty natural to me. And like I said, I mean, you if you've been on social media at all for the past 10 years, you've seen hundreds, thousands of people doing similar stuff, making fun of Trump's style. We do it on the show here. It's just refreshing to see somebody turn a social media operation for a major politician loose on things like this. I knew I had seen somewhere that there was earlier some credit for the operation being given to someone other than this guy, Izzy
Gardon. Yeah,
but
it doesn't really matter.
No,
I mean, who the figure is isn't important. What they're doing is
it's nice to recognize them. I think what I found the spot here though, or the post. This is the woman in charge of, I guess, the entirety of the Newsom Press Office. I guess the one who would have made the decision and fought for the idea if they had an argument.
To hire him and let him go.
Yeah. So, very good credit all around. Credit to Newsom for saying, yes, we should do it. And yes, I'll defend it, and turning it into a sensation.
Right. So, it's what's
Stay
all the
governor,
big deal? What
Gavin.
happens is that then people interview Newsom.
California. Yeah. Right.
And they say, what the heck are you doing?
Right.
His
He's handled it
brilliant.
beautifully. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been
Why are you
terrific.
asking me? I'm just the governor of California. Why aren't you asking the president? He's the one that does all this stupid stuff. I mean, just in case you don't get the point.
It is amazing. And for a while, even the news people were playing dumb. We don't understand. Why are you tweeting in such a dumb, childish fashion? You don't tell me you don't recognize it. Come on. You're out of your mind if you don't recognize it. You really haven't been watching? Of course you haven't been.
It's too early to tell what this means for 2028. Who cares? That's not the point at all.
No,
this
but
is the
I'll
quote
take it
from
at face
Newsom.
value. It's too early. Sorry.
Where have they been not asking Donald Trump this at every press conference? He talks to people as if we're a bunch of idiots, Newsom said.
Yeah.
We tried to raise a little awareness around that, try to take what he's doing and push it back. Now everybody's so offended. Aw.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, do you want to stand there as one of the high priests of the Church of the Savvy and tell me, if I ask you questions, you answer honestly. What's kavfefe? What's a hamburger? You know exactly what I'm talking about. And who posted those things?
What's
you can't
Bella?
be in this business, without knowing exactly what was going on, being aware of all internet traditions, as John McCain once said. And this is good news for John McCain.
Right. Have you ever written about what Trump smells like when you get close to him?
Yeah, there you go. That too.
What's the baggy part in his
happened to that
bed? How come you don't write about that stuff? What are you asking me for? I'm just the governor of California.
Yeah.
And so, the
good
press
answer.
gets really annoyed. They love Trump because, he's worth clicks. Well, now Newsom is worth clicks, and so they're paying attention to him. Is that going to help him? No. He's not going to be the nominee, but that's okay. Again, it doesn't matter. That's the style. Let's get to the substance. So last night,
Ooh, substance.
uh,
Forgot the
the
substance.
Tony Strickland, who's a state senator in California,
Okay.
filed a suit in the
Mm-hmm.
state of California asking to intervene on the Democratic redistricting legislation. Stop it, nullify it,
Ah,
whatever
I
they do.
see. Okay.
And last night, the California Supreme Court said, and I quote, petitioners have failed to meet their burden of establishing a basis for relief.
Okay.
So no, it'll continue.
Yeah.
Moreover, and this is from Axios,
Mm-hmm.
Newsom's bid to redraw California's congressional seats that create more Democrat-friendly districts have a 22-point advantage in support among the state's voters, Newsom's longtime pollster writes in an internal memo obtained by Axios. By the numbers, David Binder, a prominent Democratic pollster who's long worked with Newsom, found that 57% of California voters backed the redistricting measure, 35% opposed, 8% were undecided. Voter support appears to have increased as they've learned more about the measure. How did they learn about the measure? Social media, stuff like this, which gets out there.
Cool.
That's how you learn.
Well, this
Democrats
is
are
a
almost
good
fully
lesson.
united in this support, 84% in support and 13% opposed. Republicans similarly united. And this mirrors the presidential election results in November. Harris defeated Trump by 58-38. Poll results indicate this Proposition 50, as it will be known, will fall among similar partisan lines. So it's likely to pass. Now, Politico has a different angle on this.
All right.
National poll, not a California poll. That one was a California poll. This is national.
I wish they all could be California polls, but all right.
I wish we all, yeah, I heard a song about that. National poll, majority of Democrats back California's effort to counter Texas, despite claims of hating gerrymandering.
Yeah.
Democratic voters dropped their aversion to redistricting when it means
hypocrites.
fighting Republicans.
Mm.
By the way, that also means people hate the Democratic Party, except they're voting for them anyway.
Yes, maybe they hate. It's
Well,
always
that's
a
what the
question of who
generic
they hate
ballot
less.
says.
Right.
Yeah. I hate Chuck Schumer, but I'm voting for my congressman.
Yeah.
Fine.
And you can say I like what Gavin Newsom is doing, and I don't really care for him as a presidential candidate. So
And I like what Zoran Mamdani is doing, and he's not even running for national office. I'm still voting for him.
And even if he did, I wouldn't. Okay. There's all sorts of mixed feelings you can be having as a Democrat.
Well, that's complicated. It sounds like a real person.
Yeah.
So this Politico piece says Democratic voters loathe partisan redistricting, but support California doing it to counter Texas.
Okay.
The Politico UC Berkeley Citron Center survey conducted by TrueDot, who is a reliable source, according to Adam Carlson, who used to work with them and doesn't anymore, found that 70% of Democrats believe gerrymandering is never acceptable, but a strong majority across the country think California should fight back.
Okay.
So it's all about fighting. Again, that's what Gavin Newsom is showing Democrats how to do. The real divide isn't about whether it's fair. The real divide is whether to fight fire with fire or hold the line on principle.
Right. Meet us in Temecula if you don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. Newsom has advanced the plan in concert with national Democrats. Obama lauded California's gambit. This isn't just about California.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Said somebody or other. Ken Martin, Democratic National Committee Chair.
Ken Bone.
Calling the initiative a national moment for Democrats to show up for all voters. And this is how you show that Democrats are willing to fight. Now, in the end, Chris Cillizza says, Republicans win. Why are you doing this? They're going to get 4 or 5 more seats than you. Well, if you don't do it, they're going to get 25 more seats than you.
Yeah. No, as I understand it, they're looking to get a couple more seats. It's true, but you can undo that just in California, really. But if you also do the same sort of redistricting in 1 or 2 other states, it's not clear that there's any Republican advantage at all.
New York, Kathy Hochul tweets, bring it on. I mean,
all right,
Republicans will wind up with a numerical advantage, but it won't be in double digits. And that's not going to be enough to save them. No. And are we talking about double digits in terms of seats, or are we talking about a generic ballot? Okay. No, I don't think they're getting anywhere near double digits. No, they'll be held to, I think, 0 net gain if everybody actually redistricts
that's eligible to do so. I guess everybody's eligible since there's no rules anymore. But yeah, just 2 or 3 major Democratic states can wipe out everything that they get from Texas and more. As I understand it, there's only, I mean, they've squeezed Texas enough in the past. This is like the 3rd or 4th time that Texas has redistricted in between censuses, and there's just not that much more you can do until, I guess, the day when Trump declares, well, Democrats aren't allowed to vote.
Right.
So we'll do it that
way. Well,
way.
Chris Cillizza says, okay, well, if California, Oregon, Illinois, and Maryland do it,
yeah,
he doesn't even have Colorado on the list.
Okay.
Then what if Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, Ohio, Missouri, and Kansas also do it? Then Republicans win.
Sure. And what if there's a worldwide conspiracy involving everybody in the entire world working in purely in concert and working and moving in the same direction at all times? We have lots of that happening all over the world. Yeah, I mean, what if they do? All right, let's find out. What if they do and we do nothing? I think we know the answer to that. So shut the F up is my answer.
Oh, here's
to
another
that.
Cillizza post, which
okay.
Makes you scratch your head.
All right.
There's a massive difference in cash on hand, writes Teddy Schleifer, between the Democratic and Republican national committees, according to filing, which is true. Democratic National Committee, DNC, is $13.9 million.
Yes.
Republican National Committee, $84 million.
Yeah.
But they run different sorts of campaigns.
Yes.
The DCCC is leading the Republicans by a reasonable amount, similar numbers, but the DCCC has raised more.
Okay.
I mean, so the National Party isn't as involved in state races the way the Republicans are. So I don't know what it means.
Nothing. Hi, everybody. It's me, David Waldman. Yes, the same guy who interrupts you all the time. Interrupting you one more time just to tell you again, another reminder that your contributions are what keep this show on the air, and Patreon.com, Patreon.com, is still among the easiest ways to make the sustaining subscription donations that keep us afloat. Are you ready for the pep talk about how our Patreon campaign is still going strong and growing? Well, too bad. Yeah, the plain fact is we actually are headed in the wrong direction, and whereas we once had about 175 monthly patrons, we're now actually down below 150. Time to recruit some more. Not exactly the kind of news I wanted to share, but there it is. For those of you in a position to support the show, Patreon.com does make it easy to make those secure, recurring monthly contributions to do so. Patreon.com/KagroX gets you straight to our donation page. We've been through a lot together. The worst of the pandemic, we hope. The worst of the insurrection, we hope. So go ahead and treat yourself. You don't need an excuse. Give yourself the gift of a little something you enjoy in life. Support the show. And of course, if you happen to prefer using PayPal or even the Square Cash app, we're up and running on those options too. So thanks again, everyone, for all your support. We couldn't, or at least shouldn't, do it without you. Hope you'll be on board soon too. Thanks for all your support. All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. By the way, yeah, I finally did find that the picture I was looking for that went along with the Gavin Newsom Press Office operation. Camile Zapata is the name of the woman leading the Gavin, allegedly, according to this post anyway, leading the Gavin Newsom Press Office. Which,
credit where credit's due.
Yeah. So I guess she would be the one in charge of, she's Izzy's boss, I guess.
I would think so.
But yeah, had to be.
Izzy looks like a young'un, he's probably a hire.
Yes. And,
as opposed to a boss.
So the head of the press office would have had, presumably, to be the one to tell the big boss, Gavin Newsom, this is going to work. This is a good idea. We should do this. And it's not easy at all, ever, to get the principal involved in all of this to say, yeah, let's totally break with tradition. Let's troll the president of the United States. I think that's what, who was it that said it? Was it Cillizza who said that there was the $40 million or whatever on the line, $40 billion? Oh, that was the Breitbart article that you mentioned.
Yeah.
I guess what that's supposed to mean, gathering, I guess, from the fact that it's in Breitbart is they must be intimating that with Newsom making fun of the president, making fun of Trump would then, in retaliation, withhold $40 billion in federal fire relief funds for California wildfires because he's insulted, which is probably true. But there you go. There you have it.
Well, it's true that Trump would try to extort things from California. It doesn't mean it'll work.
No.
But especially when people make fun of him for doing it. Oh, right. He's making fun of you, and now you're going to try to extort him. Let's make fun of that. You know? So I don't know if that'll work, but we'll see.
Anyway, Jeffrey
in any
Epstein.
case, let's do some quick economic hits and then talk about one of my favorite topics, New York City.
Okay, Jeffrey Epstein. I'm just saying,
who lived there?
Ignore that.
Spencer Hakimian, who is a conservative, never Trumper conservative I follow, who does economic stuff, says, Walmart CEO says tariff costs increasing each week. Walmart inventory costs up on import costs. And Hakimian adds, the biggest retailer in the country is telling you they're getting slammed by tariffs.
Yeah.
So you still think foreigners are paying the bill for you?
I don't know
Those
why
prices are going up along with eggs, meat, and everything else. And no, you can't hide it. Not if you shop at Walmart and everywhere else. Mm-hmm. So there's that. And Heather Long, economist, says, it's hard to find a job right now, regardless of your age or experience. If you don't work in AI or healthcare, you can't find a job. New jobless claims ticked up again, 235,000 up from 224,000. Continuing claims are the highest since November 2021. Everybody should be watching unemployment claims for signs of further labor market weakening. We're still at relatively low levels, but, we don't want to see pickups this fall. Things start slowly, or who is it? Things start slowly and then all at once.
Oh.
Ernest Hemingway, I think, said that about bankruptcy.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Something like that. I don't quite remember that story, but something along those lines.
You can't go wrong crediting Hemingway, I think.
Right.
You can.
In any case.
Tell you, though. Yes.
Here is a new poll. This one is from neighboring New Jersey, neighboring to New York and Connecticut. Rutgers Eagleton poll. 1,650 likely voters. I interpret that these days as live voters.
Okay. This is a
really
group of 1,600 New Jerseyans, so watch out.
Yeah. Mikey Sherrill, 47. Jack Citarelli, 37. So leads by 10 points. White voters, Citarelli, 44-38. Black voters, Sherrill, 69-4. Hispanic voters, Sherrill, 56-22. Asian voters, Sherrill, 47-18. So those look like typical Democratic numbers in New Jersey. So just keep that in mind. And a new story, which broke in a local publication, online publication called The City.
Oh, okay. Now moving across to New York.
The City, New York.
Yes. Right. This
Breaking.
is Trenton. Yeah.
Eric Adams' advisor, Winnie Greco, handed a city reporter, The City, the blog, handed a city reporter cash stuffed in a bag of potato chips. The city reported the incident to law enforcement and was promptly contacted by the Brooklyn U.S. Attorney's Office. So,
Brooklyn,
a former
US
top City Hall
Attorney's
advisor and current campaign confidant to Mayor Eric Adams attempted to give money to a reporter from the city following a campaign event in Harlem Wednesday. The failed payoff, a wad of cash in a red envelope stuffed inside an open bag of sour cream and onion rippled potato chips.
Oh, yeah.
These are reporters. You got to get all the details right.
Yeah.
Was made by Winnie Greco, longtime Adams ally who resigned last year from her position as the mayor's liaison to the Asian community after she was targeted in multiple investigations. She resurfaced recently as a consistent presence in his re-election campaign. City Hall reporter Katie Honan spotted Greco near the announcement of the opening of Adams' newest campaign office in Harlem. Greco texted Honan after the event when she spotted her again and asked her to meet across the street from the campaign next to a TD Bank. Important to include all these details for the prosecutor.
If that's where the money
Greco
came from.
and Honan walked to the Whole Foods next door. You're getting a whole tour of Harlem now. While inside the store, Greco handed Honan the open bag of chips with the top crumpled closed. Honan, thinking it was an offer of a light snack, told Greco more than once, "I can't accept potato chips from you." but Greco insisted she keep them. The two parted ways before entering. This is such a New York story. Before entering a nearby subway station, Honan opened the bag, discovered a red envelope inside stuffed with cash, at least $100 bill and several 20s.
What? That's it?
That's it.
It wasn't like
that's enough to buy a beer in New York. The reporter then called Greco and told her she couldn't accept the money and asked if she was still nearby. Greco said she left the area. Honan, texted her again. I have to give you this money back. Greco said they can meet some point. Reporter then texted Greco, I can't take this. When can I give it back to you? She didn't get a response. The city asked Greco what her intention was, and she said she made a terrible mistake and apologized over and over. I'm so sorry. It's a culture thing. I don't know. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I feel bad. I'm sorry. She then called the city advising we call her attorney and adding, can we forget about this? I try to be a good person. Please, please. I just wanted to be your friend.
Weird. I mean, quite honestly, first of all, I'm suspicious of anybody who hands me a bag of potato chips that's open. If they're not a member of my family, like, what do you want?
Right, but this is great. What? So then they add this.
Cash.
I can see how this looks strange, her lawyer said, but I assure you, Winnie's intent was innocent. In the Chinese culture, money is often given to others in a gesture of friendship and gratitude.
She's Chinese, I guess. All right.
Well, she was a liaison to the Asian community.
Okay. I forgot about that part.
After the city informed the Adams campaign about the interaction, campaign spokesperson Todd Shapiro said Greco was immediately suspended from the campaign. Shouldn't have been on there in the beginning. So pretty interesting.
That is,
and that's the lead-in to today's polling news.
That's crazy. It is pretty. I've heard of and there's a red envelope like that. I know that. I understand that to be a Chinese, New Year tradition.
It's happiness. You wear, red at your wedding.
Time. All right. I mean, the red envelopes. I understood that.
White is bad. White is like ghost. White is like, the dead.
Okay.
But red is happiness, and so you wear a red gown, not a white gown when you get married.
Okay. Where's the Asian potato chip connection? I don't understand. There isn't one.
Everybody loves potato chips. I don't happen to like that flavor,
But yeah, and I love the product placement and all this too, right? The TD Bank and the Whole Foods and the Did they say the brand of potato chips?
They did. I just left that out.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, we're not getting.
But it's in the story,
potato chip guys. Okay.
If you're really interested, and then it didn't say she was drinking a Coke with it. These are herder, HERR, hers.
Her potato. Oh, okay. Whose potato chip? It's an Abbott and Costello. Hers potato chips. Whose potato chips? Third base, right? Okay. All right. Anyway,
and again, just as a reminder, smash that like button. And be sure to subscribe.
Hey, this is the first time I ever heard that. That's crazy. What's baseball? All right.
So this is American Pulse, which is a right-leaning pollster.
Oh.
In fact, they advertise.
Well, then get out of New York.
They're on Newsmax all the time, so they say that, so they're a right-leaning pollster. New York City mayoral poll. And again, this is fascinating.
And it's a hellhole. Yes, go ahead.
Mamdani, 37.
37.
Cuomo, 25. Sliwa, 17.
That's his highest ever.
Eric Potato Chips Adams, 11.
Well, he's gained 5 points by giving out potato chips.
He's gained 5 pounds on his potato chips.
That's true. All right.
Three-way without Adams. Mamdani, 38. Cuomo, 32. Sliwa, 23. Not sure, 9. So Sliwa goes from 17 to 23, gains 6. Cuomo gains from 25 to 32. So essentially, Adams voters, half of them are Republicans, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And the other half are independents. Now, without Sliwa, to make this point, Mamdani goes from 37 to 39. Cuomo goes from 25 to 30. And Adams goes from 11 to 20.
Okay.
All right. So, in other words, Sliwa, Adams, Sliwa, they share the same voters.
Should be a ticket.
It's just that everybody hates Eric Adams.
Has he got
Adams
a beret?
Is just net favorables, Mamdani +4, Sliwa -9, Cuomo -14, Adams -34.
Hence the potato chips.
Right. Now, if President Trump decided to endorse one of the candidates for mayor, would that make you more or less likely to vote for that candidate? More likely 24, less likely 63. We're talking New York City here.
Yes,
They hate
right.
Trump. They know Trump.
Okay.
So this Mamdani at 37 is actually a 2-point gain for him from the last point, and it's a 6-point gain from the previous poll in late June, early July.
All right.
Cuomo goes from 29 to 25 in the most recent poll to now, so he loses 4. Sliwa 16 to 17, so he stays the same. Adams drops a bit, 14 to 11. Eric Adams is like a non-factor at this point. The race is between Mamdani and Cuomo. Cuomo's so obnoxious, he's not going to win. Somebody asked Mamdani, why is Cuomo still in the race? And Mamdani said, because Cuomo doesn't understand no means no.
Yeah.
Referring to his loss in the primary. And, Cuomo's not going to win. And Mamdani's going to be the next mayor.
All right. And
They used to start thinking about endorsing him.
what's his brand of potato chips? Does he eat them? He must. He eats a lot of street food.
I think he eats falafel.
Okay. Well, they, I'm sure, occasionally get a bag of chips. What a strange idea, and what a strange amount of money. That's what did you think that was going to do?
I don't know.
Okay, well, that is a weird story, and it's I don't know what to say. I'm glad you brought it up. I hope there's more to it. I guess. I mean, now I'm hungry for the next.
It's just there's a whole lot about Eric Adams to dislike, and New Yorkers have learned them all, and so they do.
There has to be more, because there's no way she can bribe just one. I think with potato chips.
Hey, here's a little piece
Yes.
on something that you may have heard of. It sort of is there in name only, but doesn't really exist anymore as an institution. It's called the House Freedom Caucus.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, House Freedom Caucus members. Chip Roy is running for Texas Attorney General.
Okay.
Byron Donalds is running for Florida governor.
Oh, yeah.
Who's the lieutenant governor? I think
in Texas,
in
Florida. Oh, I don't know.
Somebody who's making noise about running for governor said, you can't count on Ron DeSantis. He's basically autistic.
Oh, is that right? All right.
Which, by the way, everybody knows he's on the spectrum just from interacting with him.
Yeah, true.
No insult.
That might actually make him more popular.
You don't usually say that in public. It's like Gavin Newsom said, "What are you asking me for? Why didn't you ask the governor of Florida?"
Yeah, because he won't stand still to answer your question or look at you.
A name I don't recognize: Barry Moore, Alabama, running for Alabama senator.
All right, we'll see.
I assume he's from Alabama because he's running for Alabama.
Let's see Barry less.
Ralph Norman running for South Carolina governor.
Okay.
Andy Biggs running for Arizona governor.
Huh. They're all leaving.
And if Marsha Blackburn wins governor of Tennessee, Andy Ogles is interested in becoming, and by appointment, the Senate representative for Tennessee. So that's 6 Freedom Caucus names. They're getting out of the Freedom Caucus, which is okay because the Freedom Caucus doesn't do anything anymore. It makes noise and folds. So basically, they could call it the House Card Table Caucus.
I guess
all they do is fold.
They made a grave strategic error, I guess. I'm sure they thought of it as a victory at the time. Short term, it seemed like a victory, getting rid of Kevin McCarthy and replacing him with anyone else. But they've replaced him with somebody who doesn't appear to be all that sensitive to the to the factional politics and just does MAGA's bidding, and they can all either oppose Trump or not. So it was just an interesting thing. They took out the guy whose poor performance as speaker irritated them, but also gave them their power. Then they handed the control of the conference over to Trump via Johnson, and now they have no leverage, and they're all leaving. That's funny.
Okay, I just sent you a tweet at the very, very bottom.
All right.
Very short video.
Video. All right, I gotta work.
Do this to you.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Well, say some things while I
it's
work
funny.
on this. Okay.
It's funny if you know the players. This is Fox News. And I'd
Waiting.
make you guess who it is. I'd make you
Fox
listen to
News.
it, play it, and guess who it is, except it says it right there.
Oh, well, I haven't seen it yet. I got spinning wheels. It's coming.
Yeah.
I'm in X
But
here.
it is former Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy.
There he is. All right.
All right. A known
Weirdo, jerk,
invertebrate.
idiot. Okay. Yeah. All right. I see. All right.
Commenting on Gavin Newsom and his social media game.
Okay,
I just think
here
it's
we
pretty
go.
funny to ask Kevin McCarthy what you think of it.
Oh, sure.
You, a principled person who always, says what he does and does what he says and believes in every, So maybe
Is
you
that
can
him
play
at the
clip.
table there? Okay, let's see.
If you ever knew him, I've known him since he's been mayor of San Francisco. There's no principle behind him. He's a chameleon. He'll change as the weeks go by. If you talked to him a couple months ago, he wanted to be a Republican if you listen to him, right? He says one thing, does another. He wants
that's
to
a
be
Republican.
president, and he
True.
thinks this is his road. He's trying to imitate somebody. He can't get there. But when you go against the Constitution and go against the people, and he has done this before, to put something on the ballot to try to lie to the public, and they vote him down. I believe that same thing can happen here. Remember, when this was on the ballot in 2011, it was the Democrats, Nancy Pelosi and Gavin, who spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to stop it because they want all the power from the politicians. Think, 40% of the vote will go Republican about in California, and they'll end up with just 6% of the seats. People don't think that's right because it's more than 5 seats. It's really 9 seats because he takes the swing districts and solidifies them. If you ever
That's okay. That was somewhat interesting. By the way, this is at a program called The Will Cain Show. Not heard in that segment, Will Cain, but he just sort of sits there and nods the whole time. By the way, Will Cain in a comically bright blue suit and red tie. That's the new Trump uniform. Trump's suits are not that bright blue, but that's been the trend among his followers. But McCarthy this is one of those shows where you can, I don't know why they do this, where you can see, depending on the camera angle, below the table that they're seated at. It's not hiding
the
their
shoes he's wearing.
So he's wearing like sneakers and khakis, but he's suit up top. But he's not working anymore, I guess.
Well,
so
you can wear a blazer with khakis. That's Connecticut, standard state official state dress.
That's true. But I don't know. I don't know if it's a California
but not with
tradition
sneakers.
or not. But
not with
the
running
sneakers
shoes.
are a little odd, and he appears to have lost weight. He's looking actually healthier, I think, Kevin McCarthy, without the stress of being in a terrible job that he can't do.
Well, the commentary that goes with it, somebody points out, McCarthy accusing others of shifting principles is like a marionette critiquing ballet dancers.
Yeah, pretty much. And the assessment is totally upside down and backwards. They're winning this.
Right. Well, again, every accusation is a confession.
Yeah.
This is perfect.
Okay. Well, it's interesting though. He's been a relevant figure more recently than most of the ex-politicians that find themselves on the talk show circuit. We're constantly taking advice from people like Rick Santorum, who hasn't been elected in this country for a quarter of a century. But,
well, the amusing part is the retweet by Jonathan Martin, Politico, New York Times Politico, that guy that keeps going back and forth.
Okay.
Well, he writes, "My Kevin, missing a bit of self-awareness today, eh?"
All right. I was worried he would be supportive. It was
No.
Okay.
But he gets the point.
All right, that's fine. What else is he going to do? He's on the show to tell Republican listeners that they're going to win this referendum, and they're not. But that's the job. You go on and say, yes, we are. Okay, sure. Get some shoes. Whatever, man. Okay, that's a thing you should do, by the way, if you're booking yourself on a show. Is this one of those shows where they're going to be able to see under the table? Do I have to wear the rest of my suit or not?
Right. Do I have to wear pants at all? Or what's going on here?
Right, yeah, he's in boxers. Okay. Well, I will say this. Leaving the speakership appears to agree with the Republicans who are booted from the job. I haven't seen Paul Ryan lately. I assume he's just working out all the time. But John Boehner always looked a lot better once he shed the job. McCarthy, I guess, does the same. All right. I mean, it's a terrible position to be in.
Right. And finally, I'm going to end with this Jamel Bowie piece just because it's a little bit uplifting. It's a little bit positive.
All right, Jamel.
He writes what Trump is really up to in Washington, and if it's too long, you don't want to read it. Basically, he says Trump is all hat, no cattle. Even his most threatening things actually turn out to be not much of anything. Like taking over D.C., except he's not really. It's all for show. He wants the headlines. He's not doing anything. Clumsy, hollow, silly. They shouldn't distract you from the reality that even as he's putting on a show, he's doing everything he can to reach his ultimate aim, which is to stay in power and stay out of jail and get rich. It's a lot of it is just nonsense. It's there for show.
Okay. I'm glad to see that that the piece worked out. It's Jamel Bowie, so you got to hope for it. Although, the headline, I guess they probably handed him this headline. I don't know. But those are one of those irritating headlines. Here's what Trump is really up to in Washington. Oh, you're kidding. Really? Somebody actually knows? That's incredible. All right. Well, his insight is, usually more valuable than most. So
anyway, that's it for me for this week. There's really not. It's summer. It's not as much going on.
You're wearing khakis. I mean, you could be and still say you were dressed up, as you said. Connecticut uniform. Okay.
Here's the numbers I was referring to that I finally found. DCCC announced a $7.6 million raised in month of July. NRCC raised $6.1 million. They have $37.6 million, the Republicans, on hand, and DCCC has $40 million. So that's where the money goes. It doesn't necessarily go to the Democratic National Committee.
Yeah, the two parties organize themselves somewhat differently, but if you're talking about congressional races, redistricting, and the struggle for control over Congress, the national committees aren't the numbers that you're supposed to be paying attention to. It is possible, of course, that money can, the flow of money could reverse and could be moved down ballot because these are midterm elections. But there's a Trump in charge of the Republican National Committee, too, and Trumps don't release funds. That's just one of the things that is different between them. And then, of course, the structure, right? The DCCC focuses on the races going on for Congress. The RNC, where the cash advantage for Republicans is, doesn't focus on that. They focus on the national elections, but they also have a different structure in terms of one of the things that the Trumps have done, and I say multiple Trumps because Lara Trump is the co-chair still over at the RNC, is they've structured things such that when donations are made, even to the Republican congressional campaigns, 80% of that money kicks up to the RNC. And why would they do that? It would be an unusual thing to do in advance of a Republican president coming to the end of their second term in office, for instance. But they're concentrating the money at the top because the Trumps have done wondrous work in siphoning that money off and using it for personal purposes. And so, the Republican campaign coffers are very, very top heavy, but the next contest is down at the bottom, I guess. And the cash needs to be there for them to win. And telling us how much money is in the DNC and the RNC.
Larry Trump's not there anymore, by the way.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's Michael Whatley and K.C. Crosby.
I did not know that. All right, that was a short term in
Larry
office
Trump
there.
chose not to continue in the role.
Okay, well, so she had taken the money and put it in
Maybe they wouldn't
potato
let her
chip
sing,
bag, and that could be it. And she's made her way out of there. I think she was also distancing herself possibly at some point from the day-to-day operations so that she could once again be shortlisted for nomination to the Senate from another state that she doesn't live in. They were considering that for a little while too. All right. Well, I don't know why she would leave the position, except she didn't really want to work. So this was tough. I'm supposed to show up every day, and I don't know. Whatley was her co-chair.
And do non-glamorous stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. But yeah, for a little while, and a very little while, I'm surprised they didn't make Marco Rubio chair at the same time. She was co-chair, and I don't know to what end she was supposed to be co-chairing, and now I have no idea to what end she has left. But okay. Right.
Anyway, that's the story.
All right.
And I'll talk to you on Monday, I guess.
Okay, that seems like a good time for it. We'll do that, and I will share some of the other stories around the periphery. I will, you know what, while you're there, or, even if you have to go, while you're still possibly listening, I will spend the time reading from Ed Karadic's local reporting from New York 21. How about that?
Yes, please.
And
I'd like to
you can
hear
make
about
your
that.
way. And all right, so let's see. The Adirondack Daily Enterprise. I know we're running up against the break, but Assembly Special Election sparks before it starts is the headline here. I guess it's going to give us the background of inside the Republican Party there in New York 21. Stefanik fights with county chairs. Clinton County, ironically enough, will decide candidates. Lake Placid woman intends to run. Here's the picture of that Lake Placid woman. The anticipated special election to replace North Country Assemblyman Bill Jones, we're talking a real local election here, is off to an explosive start even before it begins. Jones announced his plans to resign from his seat 2 weeks ago. The race won't start until he officially steps down, which he plans to do at the end of August. Already there's a slew of local politicians vying to run for his seat, political infighting, and that's where Stefanik comes in, I guess, and accusations of rigging. There are always accusations of rigging among Republicans. Jones is the region's only Democratic state representative. Democrats want to hold this seat in their party's control. Republicans see Jones vacating the seat as an opportunity to secure the seat back into Republican hands. Jones's 115th Assembly District includes all of Franklin and Clinton counties and part of Essex County, not the New Jersey one. The election hasn't started yet, but the political maneuvering has. Clinton County Republican officials are accusing North Country Representative Elise Stefanik, there she is, of trying to run their nomination from the top down and bullying them into supporting the candidate she wants. I guess she's losing support in the area and needs somebody in her corner. Stefanik is accusing Clinton County Republican Chair Jerrica Manning of disqualifying certain candidates and attempting to nominate herself to run. All these people deserve one another, I guess. This is really something. Both parties deny the other's claims. Stefanik has announced a favorite candidate publicly. That would be Malone Mayor and Franklin County Legislator Andrea Dumas, maybe I should say like French, or Dumas, or could possibly be pronounced dumbass. You'll have to tell me, D-U-M-A-S. Rare pronunciation, dumbass, I would say. And is pulling for her. Clinton County Republicans say she's been aggressive in her campaigning for Dumas, and you can't have aggression in the Republican Party. So I guess not really doing much to ingratiate herself to the locals. All right, welcome back now to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. I'll tell you this is a weedy story from the Adirondack Daily Enterprise, and it is hyper-local, but this does give you a great explanation, a great idea of how personality-driven all politics can be, how all politics is local, but this is a very New York State kind of a thing. I mean, it happens everywhere, obviously. There are personalities at every level, and they grate on one another. But this is, I guess, a great reminder of how difficult it can be in a state that has this sort of tradition to show up as something of a carpetbagger and just say, I'm favored by Donald Trump. I went to Harvard, and I'm just imposing myself on you. And it's a fine way to enter, I guess, into politics, but you have to work on cultivating the relationships and the crazy people who are drawn to MAGA land. And remember that Elise Stefanik started out outside of MAGA circles. She may even have started out as if I recall correctly. Now, wasn't she one of the other people who was like, well, I'm a never Trumper, or not so much a never Trumper as I'm just not in the Trump corner. I'm for somebody else. But then, saw the writing on the wall and became increasingly MAGA-fied, and then almost rode it to nomination to, she got the nomination, I guess, to a Trump cabinet position, the cheapest, backdoor entrance into cabinet level service that you can get, the UN ambassadorship. Sort of a backwater, cabinet-wise. And then it never worked out. And they pushed her back in and said, you got to go defend your seat we're not going to bring you to the UN. And she had resigned her leadership position in the House conference. They had to, they made up a new position to try to save face for her. But it's been a disaster for her politically, her association with Trump. But this is a great look at how weedy this stuff can get. And by the way, a great example also, I would say, of the importance of, to the extent this story is important, and maybe for the rest of the country, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like, who cares about this thing going on in this one corner of upstate New York? But, we're reminded that all politics is local, and it becomes easier to forget that if you don't have a robust local press tradition. And that's the case in much of the country. There are just news deserts out there. And, thankfully, this isn't one of them. But getting the local angle on stuff like this is extremely important. And this sort of personality conflict happens everywhere. You just don't find out about it, and it doesn't have the same impact as it does in a place where you can get this sort of information reported for you. So although this may not be relevant to, let's say to your life, it's relevant I'll tell you this, no matter where you live, it's relevant to your life if Elise Stefanik is having trouble and is eliminated from the political scene. So let's find out a little bit more. It's a fascinating history. It's easily as interesting as what kind of potato chips bag was used to try to maybe sort of kind of bribe somebody with $140, $160, whatever that might have been, and what bank the cash was withdrawn from and where they might have bought the potato chips. Very interesting. So we left off, though. Stefanik was having a confrontation with Clinton County Republican Chair Jerrica Manning, saying that Manning was trying to get herself in position to run for this assembly seat, whereas, horrors, somebody else is trying to actually maneuver someone else into the position, which is exactly what Stefanik is doing. And every Republican accusation is a confession, once again. So Jerrica Manning might possibly be trying to move herself into position to run for the assembly seat, which is kind of what county Republican chairs frequently will do. They want to move up the ladder. Stefanik has a different person in mind, the mayor of Malone, I guess, New York, and a Franklin County legislator, Andrea Dumas. And where we left off. Republicans Ted Blazer, Steve Chilton, and Nate Locke have also been discussed as potential candidates. Democratic candidate out of Lake Placid, Bridie, perhaps, B-R-I-D-I-E, Bridie or Bridie, I don't know. You tell me. Bridie Farrell has announced her plans to run on Tuesday. Democratic Plattsburgh Town Supervisor Michael Cashman previously announced his intentions to run too. This sets up a decision for the Democratic chairs. Let's see what's going on in Clinton County here. Special elections are not run like normal elections. They do not have primaries in New York. Instead, the parties select their nominees based on votes from the party chairs in the 3 counties within the district. Essentially a primary of 3 voters. I don't know if that's a great system, but okay. But for the Democrats and Republicans, Clinton County holds all the power in this process. The chairs have their votes weighted based on how many party members their county contributes to the district. In both major parties, Clinton County carries more than 50% of the vote by itself, meaning theoretically that the Clinton County chairs hold all the cards on who the candidates are. I guess that sets up pretty well for Clinton County Republican Chair Jerrica Manning. Even if it is herself she's interested in, I guess she can do that. But that's one of those constituent games that you play, right? It's true that you can end up nominating yourself, but the question is, are there enough people in the Clinton County Republican Party who say, it's a good idea to nominate yourself, we like you and support you? If not, presumably it's not something you're going to want to go ahead and do. Anyway, with Clinton County party chairs holding all the power in the decision of who runs to represent them on the ballot, a fight to control that power has sprung up, as you can imagine. On Tuesday, Stefanik called for Manning to resign immediately, calling her incompetent, selfish, divisive, and inexperienced, as well as accusing Manning of threatening to tank the 115th Assembly District for Republicans. I am not going to let her torpedo Republican candidates in the North Country, Stefanik said. But other people from the North Country might say, we don't care what you think you're going to do in the North Country. You're just living in your parents' vacation home. You're not really from here anyway. Well, let's see. The New York GOP, the Conservative Party of New York State, Senator Dan Steck, Will Barclay, local Republican officials and voters are behind Andrea Dumas for Assembly, says Stefanik. Stefanik accused Manning of saying she would never consider certain candidates, like Dumas. State Senator Dan Steck, it's S-T-E-C, shared and co-signed this sentiment. The current chair's persistent rejection of outstanding candidate Andrea Dumas is the last straw, Steck said. They must really be into Andrea Dumas. She might have given them potato chips. Stefanik's senior advisor, Alex DeGrasse, no idea, but anyway, that's who he's listed, alleged Manning refused to consider certain candidates like Dumas, Locke, and Blazer. Well, if she's in favor of herself, that'll happen. Jerrica secretly put herself up for Assembly and even went so far as to encourage someone to run as a placeholder so she could seek the Assembly seat next year, DeGrasse said in an email. Wow, what a plan. On Wednesday, an anonymous text went out to Republicans in the area which accused Manning of trying to, quote, secretly and illegally rig the special election to put herself up as a candidate for state assembly. I mean, I agree it does look a little weird to nominate yourself, but that's the power they gave her. I didn't make the structure, and I don't know who did. But okay, knowing that that's the case, that in a special election situation, the Clinton County chair could, in fact, muscle through a nomination for anybody they want, including nominating themselves, well, you're going to want to be more careful about who you elect Clinton County chair around there. But apparently, Elise Stefanik, the congresswoman representing the area, doesn't have that kind of clout with the Clinton County Republican Party. That, I think, is probably the upshot of all of this reporting. Well, all right. Right, so this anonymous text went out and said it was secret and illegal to rig the election this way. It's not illegal. It was your rules. It may not even be secret, but let's see. They called for Manning's immediate resignation. Assemblyman Chris Tague, it's T-A-G-U-E. I hope I got that right. Or do I? I don't care. He's a member of the Republican Assembly Campaign Committee leadership, so I hope I got his name wrong. Well, he said RACC staff told him that she, I guess Manning, came to the realization that she could put herself up, vote for herself, and be the candidate. I think everybody, who runs for Republican chair in that county knows that. But whatever, this is perfectly legal and has been done before, he said, but added that it would be a shady move. Manning said these allegations are not true. I have never sought to run for the 115th Assembly seat, Manning said on Wednesday. She's going to want to clear that up if she has any interest in actually being the candidate. She's currently running for Clinton County Clerk and said that the lawn signs, this is outcome determinative. Lawn signs are here. Greg, you left too early. She said that the lawn signs she's been buying saying Manning for clerk, well, they don't say Manning for assembly. So I guess you could get stickers and put them on your signs or print new signs. Manning said she's been asked by assembly members if she would consider running in the past, but she said she's always told them that she wanted to stay focused on her county. Manning said she'd been in contact with the Franklin and Essex County chairs. It was never, I'm picking, she said. It was, hey, you find out who you want to consider from your county, and I'll find out who I want to consider from my county. And that does sound normal. Could be just a cover story, but it sounds normal. She said she'll interview and consider candidates with the other two chairs. Well, the ugly side of politics comes up next. Manning said she was shocked, I tell you, by Stefanik's statement. Probably, if you're not running. It would be shocking. Republicans don't need to be dividing themselves right now, she said. Manning said she had no plans to resign. I don't think it's good optics to step down after being threatened and bullied when I know, and my committee knows, that I ran this process properly, Manning said. I don't know whether to believe her or not, but I'm disinclined to believe Stefanik anyway. Interesting. Clinton County Republican Committee Vice Chair Jeff Luck went to bat for Manning in a post on the county GOP's Facebook page. Still using Facebook. He accused Stefanik and Steck of running a bullying campaign and interfering with the county chair's candidate selection process. He said the severe pressure from Stefanik and Steck to accept their endorsement of Dumas as the final decision was not compatible with a constitutional republic, oh boy, and may violate state statute and Republican bylaws. Let's arrest everybody involved in this. Multiple phone calls from Elise became more unprofessional, disrespectful, condescending, threatening, manipulative, vindictive, delusional, and frankly untruthful. Luck wrote, I think those are out of order. I don't want to end with untruthful after that list. You need something big at the end. The last phone call we had from Mr. Steck was much the same. They informed us that they were the only two people capable of making the right choice, and we were simply falling in line. That's what would have to happen, I guess. DeGrasse said these accusations are lies. We have something for that. Liar. This is a discussion. This is how the phone call went, a reenactment. Stefanik clearly stated that she would ensure Jerica lost her clerk race, as well as her position as committee chair, he wrote. That was the nature of the call. And he aired some dirty laundry. Ooh, let's find out. Her own chief aide stated to us that they, quote, don't give a, it's a blank here. It's just printed as a blank. They don't give a blank about Clinton County. I would find that difficult for them to, the difficult position for them to sustain if most of the votes in the district are in Clinton County. Luck told the Enterprise, the newspaper here, not the Star Trek Enterprise, that this was a comment from the spring of 2024. A group of former Clinton County GOP chairs, Clark Currier, Don McBriar, Don Lee, and Greg Campbell, they're very heavy on Dons up there, wrote an open letter in which they call on Manning to resign. The former chairs allege that she has not consulted with county executive committee members and state assembly leaders. Manning said she's been in contact with her executive committee throughout the lead up to the potential special election. The Clinton County Republican Executive Committee, made up of 15 town chairs as well as officers, gave Manning a 100% vote of confidence in a meeting on Wednesday night. So I guess that answers the question as to whether or not she's been in consultation with the Executive Committee. They all voted in her favor. On Wednesday evening, Stefanik said that the Clinton County town chairs will decide on a candidate rather than the county chair. Why? No one knows why she says that. That doesn't appear to be the case. Manning said, this is not true. She said after their executive committee meeting that town chairs will be more involved in the process, but they do not get a vote as the law only allows for county chairs to vote. And is it the law or is it bylaws of the party? Luck said this was spin. Stefanik accepted the fact that we are getting what we fought for. He said she's just spinning it to make it look like she pressured the town chairs to step up and force our committee chair to use their input as their final choice. Essex County Republican Chair Wayne Taylor spoke well of Manning in this process after recently taking on the chair role from John Giroux, who resigned to become the Enterprise's publisher last month. How do you like that? He said he's the new kid on the block. But I guess now you need to keep that in mind, too. So real machinations going on here. So I guess you got to take this whole thing with a grain of salt that the publisher, the new publisher of the newspaper we're reading this account in, used to be Essex County Republican chair. So I don't know. I don't know whether they've got any motivations in this or not. But let's see, the new chair in Essex County, Wayne Taylor, said, I want to hear from the candidates how they will win the election. That's a good question. I've heard it happen way too many times where the people running for office expect the committees to formulate the plan of action, but they're the leaders. I want to hear their take. What about the Democrats and all of this? Clinton County Democratic interim chair Jeff Moore said he and the Franklin and Essex County chairs will interview the two potential Democratic candidates next week and choose between them. Although Moore has the deciding vote, he's hoping for consensus among the chairs. That's nice, and I think probably they all are. He said both Farrell and Cashman are serious candidates. He wants someone who's energized, especially because the special election comes with such a short campaign. Moore said the Democratic candidate selection process has been peaceful. In 2022, Farrell, a Lake Placid resident, speed skating athlete, that makes some sense, right, and advocate for victims of sexual abuse, launched a bid for Congress on the Democratic line, but an off-schedule redistricting, changed the New York 21 boundary, and she dropped out, saying she did not see a way for a Democrat to win the district. Stick with it, I'd say, but who knows? She said she wants to build on Jones's success in the region. Farrell successfully pushed for legislation passed in several states, closing loopholes for victims of crime and abuse, including New York's Child Victims Act and Adult Survivors Act. Cashman, the other candidate, has been Plattsburgh's town supervisor since 2016. After Jones officially submits his resignation, Governor Kathy Hochul has 10 days to proclaim a special election. This election must occur between 40 and 50 days after, it says of, but it must occur between 40 and 50 days after her proclamation. The timeline sets the potential that the special election could be included on the November 4th general election ballot instead of being a separate election. Jones's term was set to last through the end of 2026. All right. More detail than you ever wanted to know about this. No potato chips in this story, but thanks to Aaron Marbone, the staff writer who put this together, and Ad Karadik, who is our Blue Sky correspondent here and listener to the show, who chimed in with this information while Greg and I were discussing yesterday Elise Stefanik having been booed off the stage, not in a town hall event, but in a building dedication, as she points out here. And there was never any opportunity in that situation for Stefanik to take any questions. She just was making an appearance as a local political celebrity, and no one wanted to hear from her because she's a jackass and everybody hates her, including the Republicans in the district, as it turns out. So, very interesting. Like I said, more detail than perhaps we needed to know, but just a great reminder of what really drives local politics and how these decisions are made. There was a process story in that too. Interesting that the local county chairs just get together among the three of them and make a decision in a special election setting. All right. Other stories to share with you, and there are many, some of which are relevant to things we've discussed earlier and some that might be brand new to us here. Let's see. Things that we should, where are we in our break schedule? Okay, let's go with this one. This will be a warning, I guess, to everybody, sounding the warning here on what's going on. A very unusual dynamic being set up by a set of players that wouldn't ordinarily be getting this kind of attention. You may have seen, if you're a close follower of Aaron Rupar on Blue Sky, that he's taken a segment from Fox Business, the Maria, what's her name, Bartiromo show on Fox Business, in which she's prominently featuring a government official that wouldn't ordinarily warrant this kind of attention, is the chair of Fannie Mae, the federal mortgage supervisor, essentially. Bill Pulte is the name of the current occupant of the office, ordinarily concerning himself mostly with how do we facilitate getting, the American dream homeowners mortgage financing available for, average Americans to buy a home and start a family, et cetera, et cetera. But instead, focusing unbelievably in the Trump administration on attacking Democrats. Ordinarily, the Fannie Mae chair not really involved in the partisan attack on Democrats kind of a thing. With the, I guess, perhaps occasionally they might say, well, I'm in favor of my party president's plan for, reinvigorating the housing market. And I think that the other party's approach to this is going to hurt the housing market, something like that. But this is direct attacks on Democratic candidates for office all over the country, not usually in the portfolio of the Fannie Mae chair. But Bill Pulte is, I guess, a special case. All right, so what's going on here? Let me give you the story that they're trying to generate with this, and some reactions to that story, and then try to explain what is really going on in the background here. The New York Times reports on, I guess, the top line of the story for most people is going to be something like this. Trump demands a Fed governor resign, escalating campaign to remake central bank. And that's the New York Times spin machine there in the headline. Trump is really merely remaking the Federal Reserve. Well, one, that would be a big deal for anybody. And then two, obviously he has no plans for changing the structure or mandate of the Federal Reserve Bank. He's not that kind of a planner. He hasn't got that kind of policy chops. But what he wants is, he's been pressuring the Fed for lower interest rates for a long time. And when I read this one, Trump demands Fed governor resign, that probably rang a bell for you. You've probably been watching Trump attempt to force either a lowering of interest rates or attempt to force the resignation of the chairman of the Federal Reserve Board, Jerome Powell, over the past couple of days and weeks. Trump has been saying, he should resign. I hope he resigns. Maybe I'll fire him. If I can't fire him, or the threats to fire him was the one thing that the press and other politicians, even in the Republican Party, actually came together to press Trump to, no, that's actually a bad idea. And even the courts chimed in. Well, we might actually view that differently than we view your so-called ability to fire other officials in the government. The Fed chair, for some reason, is like a step too far for the Republicans on the Supreme Court somehow. It will collapse the economy. It's something. That's too much of a break with tradition for them, which is amazing all by itself. But no, this isn't about Jerome Powell, nor is it about, although it helps shed some light on, the otherwise baffling decision just a few weeks ago of a sitting member of the Board of Governors deciding to resign early. No pressure on her to resign, no public pressure, no particular reason given for just leaving before their term is up, but handing Trump the ability to name a replacement. Nonetheless, maybe this helps clear things up, because we're talking about a third Fed governor coming under pressure from Trump to resign. What's going on here? The administration, that is the Trump administration, accused the official, Lisa Cook, of mortgage fraud and said it would refer the matter for criminal investigation. And that too might make you say, well, is that what's going on here? Mortgage fraud. Oh, that's the person they're talking about. Well, it isn't. I mean, it is now, but let's be clear about something else. This is like the third high profile Democratic, either politician or official, that the Trump administration in a very short period of time, perhaps 2 weeks, has accused of mortgage fraud. This is the same charge they're trying to level against Adam Schiff as well, and Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, all suddenly being accused of mortgage fraud, which is interesting by itself that that's the same play over and over again, but becomes more interesting when you realize that, again, I told you that the guy on TV making these attacks is the Fannie Mae chair, the federal mortgage. What does Fannie Mae stand for? I'll have to look it up. We can check that over the break. The Federal Mortgage Oversight and Facilitating Organization that ordinarily would stay out of this sort of thing. How is it that the Fannie Mae chair finds themselves in the role of attack dog? Well, he's a very highly partisan person, Bill Pulte, as you might have guessed. You might recognize the Pulte family name from Pulte Homes, of, multi-million-dollar, maybe billion-dollar home builder in the United States, and so therefore a real estate person after Trump's own heart. And of course, they are, as well as being, Palm Beach neighbors of his. So the nomination makes sense even in Trump world. They're personal friends, they're big supporters politically, but it wouldn't satisfy a person like that to simply supervise the mortgage markets. They want to be an attack dog too. So they've stumbled upon this new formula for attacks: mortgage fraud. What is the claim at the heart of all this? That people who have applied for mortgages to buy second homes have done so fraudulently. We'll discuss more about it after this. Hi, everybody. It's me, David. Let's change things up from the old fundraising pitch for just a minute and talk instead about how you can be a part of our show. If you've got a smartphone or any other electronic recording device, why not sit down and record a segment for us? Read us an important article and give us your take. Read one of your own original essays, or even just give us your commentary on something you'd like to share that's important to you. Then send the file to me at kagrox@gmail.com, and I'll try and work it into the show. Short segments, a few minutes in length, are easiest to fit in. And of course, I can't always guarantee that I'll be able to play everything, but if you've ever shouted at your radio or TV about something you wish was being covered, here's your chance to change that. Make the show your own. Send your submissions to me at kagrox@gmail.com. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Kagro in the Morning Show here on Netroots Radio. So it may not have come across on the live stream exactly what I was trying to get across here, but I was just trying to run up to the break here. But we're talking about the same charges being brought over and over again, conveniently enough, against prominent Democratic officials whom the Trump administration wants to target for whatever reason. Letitia James, angry at her because she won the civil fraud case against him in New York State, and he wants to take revenge for that. Adam Schiff, because he was an impeachment manager, even though they didn't manage to win the impeachment. He was unhappy with him and still wants to get revenge against him for the impeachment thing and working on the January 6th committee, et cetera, et cetera. And so he's also stands accused of the same exact supposed violation. And now one of the Fed governors who he'd like to see resign so that he can name a replacement, Lisa Cook, just a target of opportunity here. She just stands in the way of him getting his way on interest rates, he thinks, on the Fed, even though it's not clear at all that the rest of the Fed would go along with him. I assume that he wins their votes for lower interest rates if he names their replacement. So all of them now accused of mortgage fraud. Here is, and I'll read this to you. You should keep in mind, it's my view, and we'll get to why, that these charges are themselves fraudulent, although there's always usually a germ of truth to all of this. But I think what's going on, you should understand this as we read the New York Times articles. I don't know that they'll lay this one out as clearly, that I don't think that if Lisa Cook has done anything here, it's not unusual. It's not nearly exclusive to Democrats. That's a stupid thing to say, but that's the spin that you'll be seeing from Republicans. Look at all these Democrats who are doing this thing. Republicans are doing the same. And I referred to it earlier. It's a very common practice among people who own multiple properties. And what I'll say this before I read the New York Times thing. What's at the heart of all of this? Maybe I'll just lay out my whole theory, and then we'll read the backgrounder, and then some other opinions on the background of what's going on here. But it's a very common practice among those buying vacation homes, like let's say Elise Stefanik's family, for instance, or other, I don't know, whether they're vacation homes or other properties. Sometimes they're investment properties. Sometimes, any number of reasons why you would be buying multiple homes if you have the money to do that. And anyway, a primary residence where you actually live, your normal day-to-day shelter, is tax advantaged, generally speaking, versus second, third, fourth, fifth, 19th vacation homes, investment properties, and other things like that. They're just taxed differently. But when you're buying a property like this, if you're generally speaking a nobody, I mean, Adam Schiff and Letitia James and Lisa Cook are somebodies, but they're not celebrities. Basically they tell you, listen, the law says you get taxed at a lower rate if you just check the box on your mortgage application here. One is a tax reason for it, and two, there is a consideration that the lenders will take into consideration. The lenders look differently at primary residences. We feel like there's less of a risk on this mortgage or packaging up and selling pieces of the mortgage as they used to do back in what caused the first financial crisis. Still doing this. But we feel differently about primary residences because you're going to make the payments on your primary residence. Will you make the payments on your vacation home? Supposedly you're a rich person, so yes. And you don't want to lose your vacation home, and nobody wants that, stigma that goes along with losing the home in default. But anyway, that's I think the basis for why lenders look at things differently. And so you'll get a more favorable rate on your mortgage loan, and you'll be taxed differently on the property as well. So there's a lot of savings involved in all this. So what happens is when you go, and I only know this anecdotally, I own one property, but importantly, it's a Pulte property, or it was a Pulte property. It was a Pulte home. So I recognized the name right away and said, the housing guy is Pulte. Oh, well, of course, it figures in the Trump administration, but there's more to it than that. So when you go to buy one of these things, even if you're, not a multi-property owner, they'll ask you, in your application for a loan, whether it's at the bank or through the builder, like Pulte did initially. I think we initiated our loan that way, possibly. I don't know. I can't remember. It's a long time ago. But you're asked to check off, is this your primary residence? Yes, no. Now, if it is your only residence, there's no question. If it's a vacation home and everybody knows that it's going into it, that it's like that, sometimes the real estate agent and the bank or the bank will encourage you to, well, I'll tell you what, no harm done in checking that it's a primary residence. One, my bosses back at the bank will look at this thing more favorably if they think it's your primary residence. Plus, there's some tax advantages too. Don't you want to save tax money? And now a scrupulous person would then say, but it's not my primary residence. Should I really be checking it if it is? And very frequently, I think, the agents, either real estate agents or bank people, will say, you know what? I know what you're saying. I appreciate your honesty. Check the box. You know why? Nobody checks. Nobody's going to know. This bank will have no idea unless you're borrowing from the same bank you owe money to on your actual primary residence. They're not going to look, and they're not going to call other banks and say, but I thought that person's primary residence was this one or that one or the other one. Just check the box. Nobody checks these things. Nobody cares. Nobody will look, and no one will be any the wiser. Go ahead and take the savings. And when it's a better deal for you, it's a better thing for me because I'm more I'll get the sale. You'll go through with it if you think that it'll only cost you X rather than the real rate that it would cost you if you check the correct box. But don't worry about it. Who looks at these things? The answer is typically nobody. But for some reason, 3 times in a row in the last 2 weeks, prominent Democratic officials have found somebody's looking. And the answer is, in every case, Bill Pulte. Now, why does he have that information, and what does he care? Well, as the chair of, was it Fannie Mae? Let me look that up, by the way, so I can get the actual name for the thing, the organization. I guess I'll have to go to Wiki to do it because they just say Fannie Mae. It is the Federal National Mortgage Association. That accounts for the weird pronunciation. Fannie Mae, FNMA. Federal National Mortgage Association. By the way, what does it do? The Federal National Mortgage Association, commonly known as Fannie Mae, is a United States government-sponsored enterprise. It's sort of quasi-governmental. And since 1968, a publicly traded company. Founded in 1938 during the Great Depression as part of the New Deal, the corporation's purpose is to expand the secondary mortgage market by securitizing mortgage loans in the form of mortgage-backed securities, which got us into trouble in about 2008, allowing lenders to reinvest their assets into more lending and, in effect, increasing the number of lenders in the mortgage market by reducing the reliance on locally based savings and loan associations. Remember that being a problem even earlier, right? That was, I think, the first time we had a giant mortgage-based financial collapse that required all sorts of bailouts. And then eventually a resolution trust corporation, also a quasi-governmental entity that had to wind down all these gigantic crash mistakes. And then, whoops, we did it again about 20 years later in 2008 or so. Anyway, its brother organization is the Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation, better known as Freddie Mac. Okay. You get the area in which we're working. You've probably heard of it. Fannie Mae. Yeah, it's sort of government something, right? And then there's Freddie Mac and there's Sally Mae, student loan things, right? They love these weird acronyms for that. But you understand them to be background players and sort of bureaucratic backwaters, not a place where the chair is regularly appearing on television, leveling devastating charges and attacks and accusations of corruption against anybody, much less exclusively against members of the other party. By the way, of course, Republicans running around and saying, yeah, look at how frequent this is. Adam Schiff, you got Letitia James, and now Lisa Cook. This is an epidemic among Republicans. Now, by the way, Ken Paxton is sitting right there. He also faces the same charges, but not brought by Bill Pulte. Just somebody noticing that Ken Paxton seems to be a very corrupt figure in Texas. And wouldn't it be interesting if we found out, oh, yeah, look at this. He's been on a buying spree. He's got, I think, 3 houses under suspicion here, 3 different places that he's claimed are his primary residence, but which aren't. So he's claiming 4 primary residences. 3 of them definitely aren't. The example is sitting right there. It was published just a month or so ago. But all the Republicans who think this is exclusively a Democratic problem are ignoring this one. But they're ignoring a million of them, like Elise Stefanik. And I think that they're ignoring several thousand of them probably because this is the common practice. Now, one other thing I want to add before all this happens is, well, 2 things I'll add to this. And I'll back up at least one of them with an article. The other one is more conjecture, but you'll see why I'm going that direction. Why Fannie Mae as a launch pad for these attacks? Well, Fannie Mae has the database that they can use, and probably with extra help from dodgy boys, to loosen this information up and centralize it. They have information. Can I now type in the name of somebody I hate who's a Democratic politician that we need to take down, and we can't find anything else on them? Can I type their name into the database and see how many properties they own? And if it's more than one, can I pull up the mortgage application forms for the second one and see if they checked the box that this is a primary residence? And the answer is probably yes. I mean, you can definitely get that information because you're the chair of Fannie Mae. But what makes you think you'll come up with a hit? And the answer is, what if you have made your living as the heir to a home building empire that has made even more money than just what you would make from building and developing homes, because you are also offering people the convenience of also financing your home purchase from the Pulte Group by applying for a mortgage through Pulte Financing or Pulte Capital Partners. And in other words, this is what Bill Pulte did. He's a part of a big home building family, and he oversaw Pulte Capital Partners and just knows the business kind of, inside and out. And he knows very well that they're constantly selling Pulte homes to people and telling their Pulte agents, tell people it's okay to check the primary residence box. It's a big savings for them. It makes them close the deal. It makes the deal more affordable. No one looks. But he knows how many people do this, and he knows that as being in charge of Fannie Mae, he's got access to everybody's purchase records, even if they didn't buy from Pulte Homes. And so you can, in fact, just say, well, the chances that somebody is a prominent Democratic politician and has a second home somewhere is pretty good. And it's also a pretty good chance that they check the box, because I know when I was running this stuff in the private sector, I told our people to tell our buyers, check the box. Nobody's going to look except me. Now I'm in the business of looking. On top of which, it should be pointed out, not only do you have to, ordinarily you have to choose, all right, I know who my target's going to be. Let's look. On the off chance that they have a second home, third home, whatever, and that they check the box. It's not much of an off chance, by the way, though. If you made billions of dollars telling people, advising them to check the box, then you know how widespread the problem is. So that helps. Plus, you've got access to these databases. Plus, let's say you could bring in some sort of AI bot that would crawl through all of these things and make suggestions to you about who you might be able to bring these charges against instead of doing it in reverse. Let's say all of that was happening in the background. And let's say there were articles that alleged that, in fact, that was what was happening. Wouldn't you have a better explanation of what's going on now with Lisa Cook? Yes, you would. What is happening with Lisa Cook? Trump demands Fed governor resign, escalating campaign to, quote, they didn't put it in quotes, but they should, remake central bank. The administration accused the official, Lisa Cook, of mortgage fraud and said it would refer to the matter for criminal investigation. What, where, why, who says? Tony Rahm, Ben Castleman, Colby Smith reporting this story. It goes like this in the Times. President Trump demanded on Wednesday that Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, quote, resign now, with 3 exclamation points, citing unconfirmed allegations. That's 2 things, unconfirmed and allegation, that she may have engaged in mortgage fraud as the administration ramped up its campaign to try to remake the central bank by firing everybody on the board and replacing them. And if they can't fire them, persuading them to leave. And if they can't persuade them to leave, charging them with fraud. And what kind of fraud? Fraud in the application for loans to purchase properties, which is, of course, the same fraud that Trump was found liable for in the New York case brought by Letitia James, who he is now accusing of that same crime. Every accusation is a confession. Mr. Trump unleashed his latest attack shortly after Bill Pulte, the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, said on social media that his office had investigated Ms. Cook and found that she appeared to have falsified bank documents to obtain favorable loan terms, which is the kind of thing that Bill Pulte and his agents told them to do in many, many cases. That's how he knew to look. Mr. Pulte said the FHFA had referred the matter to the Justice Department for a criminal inquiry, as he suggested the president could fire Ms. Cook. In attacking Ms. Cook, the first black woman, by the way, ever to serve as a Fed governor, just in case you were keeping track, Letitia James. Adam Schiff is a break from that pattern, but okay. 2 out of 3 tells you maybe a little something. You'll see more pretty soon. Both Mr. Trump and Mr. Pulte signaled anew their willingness to weaponize the instruments of government to influence monetary policy, even though experts have long warned that interfering with the Fed and its independence could bring about catastrophic economic and financial consequences. I'll take a pause here just to point out for the economist types out there that lowering interest rates, well, there's all sorts of consequences for lowering interest rates. Trump is trying to sell the idea as, well, it'll help make it more affordable for people to buy homes, even if it's the second and third homes, and they're buying them, for instance, to put on the market for Airbnb, something like that. By the way, a serious investigation into fraudulently claiming things as primary residences would probably, I would say, jeopardize something like 75% plus these days of the market stock for Airbnb. Almost all of those places that are rented out full time are sold to people who they give you a wink and nod. Write down primary residence. It makes it cheaper. Anyway, we'll see whether the tech bros weigh in on something like this. But I was going to say, one of the other things that might benefit from a lower interest rate and manipulating the interest rate. I don't know much about this sort of thing, but apparently the bond market would benefit greatly. Bondholders would benefit greatly from a lower interest rate. And people who say they understand this stuff better than I do say, yeah, that's actually, that's market dynamics. It would make the selling price, if you're a bondholder of particularly corporate bonds, that the selling price would immediately rise on a lowering of the interest rates. But I was saying to Greg earlier, right, like, did we make it onto the air about this one? I don't know. Maybe not. But it just so happens that in the middle of trying to fire Fed directors so that we could see lower interest rates bullied through, Trump's financial disclosure forms reveal to us that he has just bought $100 million in corporate bonds. So, maybe possibly there's something going on here. But of course, it was a blind trust and yada, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But anyway, that's another story we'll be talking about in the coming days, I'm sure. But just keep that in mind as well. So these attacks, as we said, fit a broader pattern for Mr. Trump and his top aides, who have increasingly targeted their political rivals, subjecting them at times to withering investigations and other forms of political retribution. Mr. Pulte, despite holding what is typically a relatively low-profile role in the administration, has been particularly aggressive, leveling similar mortgage fraud allegations against Adam Schiff, a U.S. senator who led congressional inquiries into Mr. Trump during his first term, and Letitia James, the New York State Attorney General, who won a civil fraud trial against Mr. Trump before he returned to office. And P.S., I will tell you once again, remind you that the other day we found Ed Martin, the pardons attorney, and a few other things, and head of the weaponization of government working group, apparently at the DOJ as well, by special remit from Pam Bondi, lurking outside Letitia James's house in New York in a weirdo trench coat in the middle of summer. And to the extent he explained his interest in the property at all, it was to say, well, I was investigating this thing because we heard that she committed mortgage fraud. It's a part of what Bill Pulte is doing here. In a statement released by the Fed on Wednesday evening, Ms. Cook said she had learned about Mr. Pulte's allegations from media reports and noted that the mortgage applications were from before she joined the Fed board. I have no intention of being bullied to step down from my position because of some questions raised in a tweet, she said in a statement. I do intend to take any questions about my financial history seriously as a member of the Federal Reserve, and so I'm gathering the accurate information to answer any legitimate questions and provide the facts. A Justice Department official confirmed the agency had received the referral. When it comes to the Fed, Mr. Trump's goal is to force down interest rates, which he believes will boost the economy and make repaying the government's debt less expensive. The Fed has instead kept its benchmark borrowing costs steady this year, in part because officials are concerned that Mr. Trump's tariffs will prompt a new round of price increases. You know what those are called when we're talking about economic conditions: inflation. And rising inflation plus interest rates, in combination, you're supposed to be able to regulate the economy to some extent by keeping them in balance. But higher inflation, not good. And apparently keeping the interest rates relatively high so that the money supply remains slightly depressed helps in some way in controlling inflation. Economists will recognize it right away. But slashing interest rates and flooding the market with a greater supply of cash while prices are rising at the same time, I think it feeds on itself and just makes things worse in their view. To achieve his goal, though, the president has embarked on an all-out campaign to pressure the Fed and its members, relentlessly lambasting its chair, Jerome Powell, and threatening to fire him while also trying to subject the central bank to uncomfortable public scrutiny. Trump recently seized on renovations underway at the Fed's headquarters in Washington, which are running around $700 million over budget and are expected to cost around $2.5 billion. But everyone was, Powell and others were disputing the figures of the cost overruns as well, saying that they were including in the costs of the new construction money that had been paid 10 years ago to construct a totally different building. The president visited the construction site in July after questioning whether there was evidence of fraud, trying to make fraud everywhere, given the project's swelling expenses. Earlier this month, Trump threatened to allow a major lawsuit against the Fed chair related to the renovations to go forward as he again called for lower borrowing costs. The president is limited in his ability to remove an official from the central bank, a protection recently reaffirmed by the Supreme Court. Policymakers on the Board of Governors can be removed only for cause, which legal experts define as breaking the law or gross misconduct. So that's the next round of accusations. You see, Ms. Cook has consistently voted with Mr. Powell and is generally seen as aligned with him on policy decisions. Ousting Ms. Cook, whose term as governor runs through 2038, would give Trump another seat on the 7-member board that he could fill with someone more likely to support cutting rates. Trump already has one seat to fill. Adriana Kugler, another Fed governor, resigned unexpectedly this month, several months before her term was set to expire in January. Mr. Trump has said that he plans to nominate Stephen Miron, currently the chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, to fill out Ms. Kugler's term. He would need to be confirmed by the Senate. But if you were wondering why she might have unexpectedly resigned earlier, I wonder whether there was a story ready to go about her committing, you'll never believe it, mortgage fraud. I don't know whether that's the case. I only know that that is a case that I believe you could bring against almost anybody, especially if you're just going to allege that maybe there's information that could possibly lead someone to conclude that maybe sort of kind of it might have happened. And that's all that's going on here. The White House has also started weighing potential replacements for Mr. Powell, whose term as chair ends in May. On Tuesday, Scott Bessent, I guess. We're still stuck on that. The Treasury Secretary said there were 11 very strong candidates under consideration and told CNBC that he would begin meeting with them around September 1st to narrow the list. The chair has historically exerted significant influence over monetary policy decisions, but officially the position has just one of 12 votes on the Fed's policymaking Open Market Committee, which is made up of the 7 members of the Board of Governors and a rotating group of 5 of the presidents of the Fed's 12 regional banks. 2 existing governors, Christopher J. Waller and Michelle W. Bowman, were appointed by Mr. Trump during his first term. So if Mr. Trump were able to replace both Ms. Cook and Ms. Kugler, he would have appointed a majority of the board. But think about how engineered that is, given that Cook's term ends in 2038. 2038. If he was able to make that replacement, I mean, that's just crazy. The governors, in turn, must approve candidates to lead the regional Fed banks, although it isn't clear whether they could immediately force out existing presidents. But of course, Trump will claim that he can. A specialist in international economics who has researched racial disparities in labor markets, can't have that. Ms. Cook was a professor at Michigan State University when President Joe Biden appointed her to the Fed board in 2022. Her confirmation was a narrow one. Vice President Kamala Harris broke the 50-50 tie in the Senate after Republicans voted overwhelmingly against her appointment. Why? because they're Republicans. One of the most prominent black women in a field long dominated by white men, Ms. Cook has been an advocate for diversity in economics. She helped lead the American Economic Association's summer program, which helps prepare students from underprivileged backgrounds for graduate programs in the social sciences. In a letter posted Wednesday to social media, Mr. Pulte revealed that the housing agency had been investigating Ms. Cook on suspicion of mortgage fraud. It was the latest instance in which Mr. Pulte, a key political ally of the president, had personally targeted a member of the Fed. Earlier, he helped stoke suspicion around Mr. Powell in a drafted letter for Mr. Trump firing the chair. The president ultimately opted not to dismiss Powell. Pulte said his inquiry had found that Ms. Cook obtained loans for 2 homes in 2021 in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Atlanta, and indicated that both would be her primary residence. Ms. Cook later listed the latter dwelling for rent in 2022, according to Mr. Pulte, who cited online records, that's all he said, quote, online records, claiming she did not report any rental income on her ethics filing at the time. In her most recent financial disclosure, Cook listed 3 mortgages, all of which she obtained in 2021, with interest rates ranging from 2.5 to 3.25%. She reported receiving some income from rent on her residence in Ann Arbor in reports filed in 2024 and 25. Pulte echoed Trump's calls for Cook to resign, posting on X at one point, "How can this woman be in charge of interest rates if she is allegedly lying to help her own interest rates?" It'd be a good question if it was happening, but it would also be a good question, how often is it happening among Republicans? Mr. Trump has himself been found liable for lying to lenders to secure more favorable interest rates. Every accusation is a confession. A judge in New York last year found that Trump had inflated his net worth on loan applications and imposed a fine of about $450 million, including interest. Mr. Trump has, of course, appealed the ruling and won't be paying any fines, I can assure you. So, by the way, there's more to this, and we'll discuss it over, well, I guess tomorrow. But in case you were wondering about how he's finding all these things, it turns out that Fannie Mae has a contract with Palantir to do this. Isn't that something?
You have been listening
Palantir
to
is never shady.
in the morning with David Waldman.
Yeah, that's right. They're using Palantir AI to comb through the records to identify this mortgage fraud, but only telling us about the hits that they're getting about Democrats. Isn't that something? Well, time now to hand things over to Justice Putnam for the West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, following us as always right here on Netroots Radio. We'll see you tomorrow, probably for more about this.